The US export have reached its record low, breaking below the COVID-19 crisis. So what is happening here and how will that impact the GDP subsequently, and also how about the stock market? And before we discuss about this topic, please do take some time to read into the disclaimer. And what we're seeing here is the US export price index. And why is it important? Because the export number is a leading indicator to GDP, and GDP is a leading indicator to the stock market. And I'm seeing a lower export prices breaking below all these previous crises. It means that the GDP in time to come, in the very near future, we're seeing a lower GDP. And with 2 quarters of low GDP, it also equate to recession. And it's always the case with recession, it will also follow by a bear market. Now let's take a look, a comparison between the export number and the GDP down here. And before that, let's understand about the formula of the GDP here is that GDP is equal to consumer spending plus investment plus government spending plus export minus import. Now, with a lower export number, is a matter of time we're going to see a lower GDP. And let's do a comparison between, earlier I said that the GDP or export number lead the GDP. Now, blue line is the export number, and we could see that it peaked first, then it fall. And subsequently, we saw that the GDP also follow as well. And that was during the '08 crisis. And that was before the COVID-19 crisis. And we saw again that the export number peak, it started fall. And then subsequently, the GDP also follow. And in the recent development here is that somewhere after 2020-22, the export numbers suddenly fall very quickly, breaking all the previous crises. And we also saw that subsequently the GDP also follow as well. Now let's do a comparison between the three, which is the export number, the GDP, and the stock market. Now we're doing comparison between the export number, the GDP, and the S&P 500. Of course, you can also reference to the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, or Russell 2000. It will give you a very similar reading. And let's look at the '08 crisis. And when the GDP fall, before that was export number, the stock market is the last leg that it also have fallen. And how much? And we're looking at the Dow Jones, then it have fallen by 55%. And then how about in 2015 during this period? Now the export number have fallen. It was because of a strong US dollars. And that hurts the export. And the GDP has fallen a little. So is subsequently the stock market as well. So how much have it fallen? It have fallen about 17%. And then there was an external crisis here is that we saw that there was Swiss shock, Greece debt crisis, and the China crash. How about the recent years that we're seeing here is that the COVID-19 crisis. And with that, we saw that the stock market also have fallen. By how much? By 39%. And let's look at the latest number here is that after 2020-22, the export numbers suddenly have fallen. And again, we saw that the GDP subsequently follows. But I'm seeing here that the stock market is still holding its ground. And I'm not too sure if you're seeing this, but I'm seeing a divergence here. Now let's explore a little bit deeper here is that this is the Dow Jones. And again, you can look at the reference to the NASDAQ or the S&P will give you the same reading. Now, do you think that this is a resuming bull? But based on these numbers that we're studying here because of the export number, followed by the GDP, with this divergence between the stock market and the export number and GDP, I'm suspecting that this retracement that we're seeing here at the beginning of 2023 is a retracement of a continuous bear. Now, the bear has started at the beginning of 2020-21. 2022 with the increase of inflation and the increase of the interest rate. Are you seeing opportunity here or are you seeing risk? Knowing what the risks ahead. I'm not saying risk, I'm saying opportunity. I'm not too sure about you. I always enjoy studying the correlation between the markets and to uncover trading opportunity. So feel free to leave me any comments below. I love to exchange ideas with you. Really happy that you stayed through this tutorial. You have many great trading weeks ahead.